was up to, because for those of you who don't know, I don't update my phone at my house. So I left and I sat outside of a place where I get public Wi-Fi. I sat in there and I tried connecting to a VPN. It didn't work. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I opened the Tor browser. And I streamed the whole thing through the Tor browser, and I just sat with watching the Microsoft event through Tor. And it was actually really funny that like I was able to do it, and I was honestly surprised that I was able to get such good performance on it.
Yeah, isn't the Tor browser bandwidth limited to 10 megabytes per second?
Yeah, but it's still good enough to stream video.
I mean, yeah.
I was just surprised that I was able to do it. It was able to do it for like an hour so consistently. Today is Microsoft Day. I predicted on Twitter they would embarrass themselves. They only did half of that this time instead of the whole thing being a complete embarrassment.
And for me, it keeps bringing me back. It keeps reminding me.
They kept it really short. It was 47 minutes. But they kind of tried to keep the ball rolling as things went on.
I have not seen it, so I am going to be a fresh opinion that I can react to whatever it is that you tell me.
I think Microsoft did the right thing in keeping their thing like really tight, because they're not like Apple, who wasted an hour talking about a camera.
Yeah.
The few standouts to me are not even related to their actual products. One of them was, which was they allegedly got the rights to Intel's 11th gen processor for Windows 11, and so far right now they're the only ones who can use it.
Okay.
And one of the reasons why they went really hard on Intel for all of their products, this is like the Surface Book, the Surface Pro, the Surface Studio, and they went really hard on those for Intel because they want Thunderbolt, and Thunderbolt's exclusive to Intel.
But didn't Intel open the Thunderbolt standard so other non-Intel products could get certified as Thunderbolt compliant?
Well, guess who hasn't adopted it? AMD. And nowhere in that entire presentation will you hear anything about AMD.
But AMD won't adhere to that?
And also because Intel has very deep set deals with Microsoft. They've had for decades.
Yeah, they're like very buddy-buddy with them. But like, why?
We've got to have money.
Alright, let's talk about the Surface Studio. Surface Studio, upper echelon Windows 11 device. But going into this event, I was like, these are the computers that are probably like, they're really, really nice, but I'm never gonna buy. Because they're Microsoft computers. Although I can appreciate them for what they are, I suppose. Funnily enough, it comes with Windows 10 Pro, but it is Windows 11 ready because processors and all. It's $3,500.
Oh, jeez, that's so expensive. That's stupid.
Come back when you're a little richer.
There's no way people are gonna buy this. If anything, I think the most compelling product they had was the laptops. The laptop was the most compelling thing out of everything they presented.
So something that is pretty enticing to me is a 120 hertz display. It's a 14.4 inch display. So, I mean, I think looking at the bezels, it probably is the same form factor as a 15-inch laptop. I'm pretty happy with it. So, 2K display, 120 hertz, that's a good compromise for a laptop display. Because if you start pumping more frames than that, you really don't get that much more of a benefit. And if you have more pixels than that, you really can't perceive it on that small of a device anyway. And so 2K, 120 hertz is like really good for mobile gaming.
I mean, why not? Yeah, if you want like $3,000 monstrosity.
Yeah, or you could get like a laptop like Nemo has, which is the size.
Yeah,
you
but
could use
some
it for,
people want something like the Surface, the Surface laptop, or the Huawei computers, because they're actually small. They're actually thin, and you can carry around and use them for real work.
Pull it towards you. Anything you love, you pull towards you. It's emotional, right? So I pull this product towards me, and I get excited. I love it
because they spent. And it's really funny because they knew it too. They spent a very short amount of time with the Duo, the Surface Duo, which is their Android phone, the folding Android phone. They only spent like 14 minutes on it. Kind of like Apple, they had a very larger side. It wasn't that large, but it wasn't as large as Apple's. but it was a very large set aside for accessibility. And I think Microsoft might be onto something by promoting by trying to push accessibility in computing. Like, I know people who have physical disabilities, and there is a lot of problems with conventional like laptops and desktops where they cannot use them effectively. So there is, to be honest though, like the most that I've seen them do, and I wish we could promote more, was more something akin to like the Xbox adaptive controller. They only briefly touched on it here, but I mean, because it is a last year product.
That allow you to connect your, like, basically whatever the heck you want to whatever the heck you want.
Yeah, with this one though, they chose to do like some like keyboard pads. So like there are like keyboard pads and like packaging things that are intentionally designed for people who have physical disabilities to open them properly. So like they show it later in the thing, but there are stickers that they have that are inside, which you can actually use for people who have visual impairments to identify which keys they're actually putting their hands on or fingers on.
Oh.
I've seen like videos of this on like Twitter. There are people showing, like, there's one blind woman, she's showing how to use like an Android phone, and when she's doing it, you have to swipe. When you turn on a certain mode, you have to swipe a certain way on your phone, and swiping a certain way on your phone essentially tells your phone to do something. And then you just have certain swipes that are like, oh, if you swipe this way, it's a way for you to open the phone app. And honestly, if anything, phones have done a better job about accessibility than like computers ever have.
Which is kind of ironic, given that computers are so much more extensible than phones are. It's kind of weird how phones end up being more friendly towards accessibility than computers.
But I am all for stuff like this. I believe we need to make... I want to promote more of this. There needs to be more of this.
You might be having classes on your PC.
One of the ads they were showing in the, because this whole thing, as if this whole thing wasn't a giant ad, they show like the TV ads for the TV ads for the products. But one of the ads they showed was for the Surface laptop, and when they were showing it, I immediately thought of Apple, but for the wrong reasons. And it's not because of what they were doing in the commercial, it's because of what I heard in the commercial. So in the commercial, they played the song Pure Imagination from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Isn't it really convenient that Apple released a commercial about the purple iPhone containing the opening song from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? A little too coincidental, don't you think? Because they did that for the ads of the purple iPhone. The purple iPhone that plays Candyman from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. The exact recording. Microsoft probably tried to write their way around it, in a sense, by saying, well, we are actually using a cover of it. We're not using the real thing.
Come with me and you'll be
In a world of pure imagination,
take a look and you'll see.
into your imagination.
Microsoft just wants to be Apple. That's the
Panos Panay wants people to be Apple, and I think that's what's more accurate. Of Microsoft doesn't want to be Apple. Excuse my language. They already have the biggest companies in the world by the balls that aren't big tech. They don't need to copy Apple.
Yeah, but Microsoft clearly understands, as a lot of companies do, that even if you don't agree with what Apple is doing, there's a lot of things that Apple just they're obviously very successful, and so a lot of companies will just copy them blindly and end up actually doing reasonably well, even though they're blindly copying the stuff that Apple is doing.
But they didn't start doing this until Panos Panay took over from Steven Sinofsky. Because ever since Steven Sinofsky was relieved of his position by Satya Nadella, Panos Panay has, everyone, and I've said this before, he has tried to copy Apple, in terms of like the presentation of everything.
And the PC.
Can I talk about how Apple and Microsoft's events get edited? I think I don't actually know anything about what's going on behind the scenes. When I watch these events, like I I try to get comfy, but I usually can't because I don't know why. This is a hallmark of every one of these big tech events. Everyone just sounds like a robot. Ironically, the only tech CEO who doesn't sound like a robot is Jensen Huang. Like, that's it. All the other people just sound like robots. And then, oh, and maybe Phil Spencer. All the other ones just sound like robots. Like, Tim Cook sounds like a robot. Satya Nadella sounds like a robot. Panos Panay, he tries to sound human, but it doesn't really work. Well, it works for some people, but it doesn't work. It's like 50-50. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for most people, but it works for some people, so he must be doing something right.
I would imagine that getting to be a CEO of a company, or, you know, some top tech position in a company, does not mean that you were necessarily the most charismatic individual. And so public speaking is probably not... I mean, it probably is higher on the list of talents you need, but it's not. It definitely isn't the top position on the list of talents you need.
Because, like, my personal gripe is, though, I think they're being coached. Like, how they're talking is being coached by people. There's a conspiracy theory going around a few, like, Mac papers, and I think there is some merit to it that during Apple's events, you can tell they cut content from it. There are places of the event where you can tell they removed content of the show.
They removed content because it
either wasn't ready or they just don't want to talk about it. If you ever see a jump cut in an Apple event, that's a dead giveaway that they cut something. Especially like the beginning of transitions. There's a part of the original spring event that Apple did.
What a great day of announcements. We continue.
But then when it goes, it cuts. And the same is true of Microsoft's events. Like, if you ever see them cut something, that means they removed content. Microsoft made the mistake in every single event they've done this year by having fake, rehearsed, like, things. Like, and I say, like, rehearsed things, like, where, like, they're like, hi, how you doing? It's a night, we're having a conversation, but you're not having a conversation. This is pre-recorded, and you guys know the questions ahead of time. They chose the questions very intentionally, and that's what they want to talk about. But they try to make it seem genuine, but it isn't genuine.
Browsing on Edge is faster. Browsing on any browser is faster, actually, which is just awesome.
The issue I have is not that I don't think it's that they don't know how to do it. It's that they just do a really bad job at trying to communicate what they intend. It's a hallmark of Microsoft, has been for years. Long before Satya Nadella was CEO, and long before Steve Ballmer was around. Bill Gates has been notorious for this. Like, they're just bad at communication. They can't do it.
But that's not really their main business. Their main business is more towards corporations, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying they're excused a little bit from that, but also this bad communication has been going on for too long, and people need to understand that bad communication has been a hallmark of Microsoft for years. Like, it doesn't excuse them for making not very good events that loop eventually. It's footage of the Windows 11 commercials. They have like 3 of them. It was actually 5 of them, I think. And they aren't very good. They're terrible. Like, I'm watching. They don't tell you they don't tell you anything, but visually what they're showing you doesn't evoke any emotion when people think of Windows. Founder of modern marketing in the early 20th century, he says that if you want to sell people something, you need to sell people based on emotion they already have for what you're selling them. And Apple knows this. Apple, Intel, they know this full well because they know who they're selling their stuff to. And same with like Samsung, for example. Even they know very well who their audience is, but not Microsoft. It's missing.
I guess looking at the video, and I can't hear what they're saying. All I can do is see the video. It almost feels like the difference between walking into a Ford dealership and walking into like a BMW dealership. Because if you walk into a BMW dealership, like everything is prim and polished, and like that's part of the ethos of like BMW. But if you walk into a Ford dealership, I mean, everything is still like clean and put away, but there's just like a different air that it's the dealership just doesn't care as much to do the like polishing thing. And it almost feels like the same sort of difference. Like Apple goes through the trouble of wanting everything to be perfectly polished, and Windows just doesn't care as much to do that. which
they never have.
yeah,
They've never had since Bill Gates was around. I mean, why else do you think their system ships with buggy, broken updates? I mean, Apple ships with buggy, broken updates too, but at least with Microsoft, it's just so public and widespread that everyone knows about it.
Windows updates. Let's just Windows updates.
All right, if you're, let's say you're a Microsoft fanboy, fangirl, you want to go buy, I don't know, you want to go buy the latest and greatest. Well, and you want a Windows, specifically a computer you can guarantee is Windows 11 friendly, and you can only get these ones. Well, what do you get? Well, I would say just get the Surface laptop and skip all the other ones, because they're not worth your time.